All right. Welcome, everybody, to Finance Essentials with Danny Hudson. I am your host, Danny Hudson, and I have a very special treat for you guys today. He's actually somebody that I look up to a lot, that I have been following for quite a long time. He may be new to you guys, and if he is new, hopefully you'll fall into the same camp as me. But what I want to do too is I want to let you guys know I'm going to read his bio for like 5 minutes. So if you want to get something
too long.
No,
Don't do it. Too long.
I'm just joking. But but I do want to let you guys know. So Larry was in the Marines from 1986 to 93. And he later started his own company, which was Prime Distribution. And then he later sold it. And then he created his new consulting company back in 2004, which is Neo Sage. And he has served on the Libertarian National Committee. He has been the VP candidate nominee for the LP ticket in both 2016 and 2020. And he also ran for governor of New York in 2018, also on the Libertarian ticket. You guys may have seen him on Kennedy. You guys may have seen him on the Joe Rogan Experience. And he is also the host of the Sharpe Way podcast, which is on every day live at 7 p.m. on that's Eastern time. So Larry,
and Sharpe Way is the coolest show that has Sharpe in the name. There's no other show cooler that has Sharpe in the name.
And if there happens to be another one that does have Sharpe in the name, we'll just bomb them with bad ratings or something.
Yes, they're not as cool.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Not as cool.
Guaranteed.
So with a resume like that, the first question that I have, Larry, is what made you decide to slide into my DMs and say, hey, when are you going to have me on the show?
Well, because I know that what you're talking about is critical now, right? This is the time the time of change like this is the time when a lot of people start kind of reevaluating and saying, is it time for me to, stay in my job and work harder? Is it time for me to change my job? Is it time for me to stop working and start a family? Is it time for me to start a business? Should I trash my business and reboot? This is the time that people have the opportunity to do that. And I know you are all about the idea of financial freedom, which means many different things to many different people.
Yep.
Right. For somebody, it's the spouse goes to work and I stay home and I now, find my value within my family.
Absolutely.
And for somebody else, it's, I'm going to start my new restaurant. Right.
Sure.
And for somebody else, it's, I want to get promoted finally.
Yeah.
Or someone else, I want to get out of this dead end job that I know I've been accepting mediocrity for too long. And now is my shake-up time.
Right.
And I thought, you know what, this is critical as a movement in the liberty world, which I'm always trying to build the liberty movement. We are stronger as a group if we are stronger individually.
Yep.
And I want that to happen. Particularly the youngsters will ask me, Larry, I'm excited. What should I do? How do I make this work? And I say, become financially successful.
Yeah.
So you can employ more people.
Yep.
So you can donate to candidates. So you can take time off and run yourself because you're financially successful, right?
Sure.
Make this happen so that you are powerful within your own self.
Sure.
And you'll be able to empower others.
And did you find that was a very important message for yourself very early on? Because one of the things that I didn't read in your bio was Larry worked a 9-to-5 for 40 years. It sounds like that's always been something that's been important to you, but it doesn't seem like that's the case.
No, I'm glad you said that, because people think, well, Larry was like born brilliant. First off, I'm not brilliant. And I wasn't born that way. No. My story is a broken story. I don't know if you know my background, but I'm adopted. My parents broke up when I was little. My adopted parents broke up when I was little. Gotcha. And I was lied to that I wasn't adopted for 30 years. And then finally I was 30 years old. My father, who was now my third father in my life, died when I was 11. I joined the Marine Corps because I had nothing.
Gotcha.
I mean, I was trying to escape my mom. My mom was an addict. She went to prison, victim of the drug war. I had to pull her out of prison when I got out of the Marine Corps. I mean, bad. It was not great. And I wasn't thinking, you know what I should do? I should make tons of money. I had no idea how to make that.
Sure.
I went from government job in the Marine Corps to being a teacher. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
What changed me was the war on drugs. And it's a crazy reason why it did. My mom was a felon. So when she got out of prison, me helping her got her clean and got her back. I was there for her, and many people don't have that support structure.
Sure.
My mom was fortunate in that regard that I was back and I was there to be her support structure.
Gotcha.
And if you've had an addict in your life, you know how hard it is for anyone to get out of that world if they don't have support structure.
Yeah.
I was there to make that happen. But I saw firsthand, she struggled to get a job. And when she lied on every form, because if they knew she was a felon, they wouldn't hire her.
Sure.
She was hoping they wouldn't do a background check.
Right.
And when she got a job, she was a hostage. She didn't have great skill sets. And I'm not trying to put my mom down at all. I'm not. I'm just being clear. She was an immigrant. She didn't even graduate high school. I mean, the jobs that we did as kids to get out of I was born and raised in the South Bronx. And we got out of the South Bronx. It was because we were cleaning houses. My father was a DJ on weekends. We did side hustles to get to make enough money to get out of the Bronx.
Right.
So all she knew was work harder.
Yeah.
That's all she knew. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
But when she had a job, she was a hostage. She couldn't stand up for herself. She couldn't fight for a raise because she didn't have enough skills to go someplace else. And with the felony, she had no chance.
Sure.
And I hated my mom being a hostage. I hated it.
Yeah.
So I said, how do I make my mom not a hostage? She owns the business. So I started a trucking business. That's how I started a trucking business. I said, I'm going to start a trucking business because you know what we could do? Drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she had a driver's license. So she could drive.
Sure.
So she had remarried by then. She had a step pop at that point. So it was me, him, her. We started a business. I started the business. I was the dispatcher, the driver, the sales guy. I got everything up and running. And my mom was 100% owner.
That's awesome.
And I said that because if my mom owns that company, no one ever fires her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never be a hostage ever. And I want to make sure my mom would never be a hostage again. And that was my first movement into entrepreneurship. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was about.
Yeah.
I just said, I knew that was going to work.
Sure.
So I ran that business for about 2 years with her. Then I left it. She ran it until she retired. And then she moved to South Carolina and she passed away in South Carolina about 6 or 7 years ago.
Gotcha.
So that's how I got into entrepreneurship. But once I got it, I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I stayed. Right. And then I started my second business on my own. That one failed. That one is that's the one I sold off.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the one. The first I didn't sell up, but the bios
that was Prime. Then Prime was the one. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. That Prime is when I sold off.
Okay. Okay.
That one I sold off. And the funny part is it took me 2 years. And if there's any small business owners running it, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I knew how to sell. That I didn't know how to do. I didn't know how to run a business.
Yeah.
And they're two very different things.
Absolutely.
So as I began to fail, by the time I'd gone 2 years in Prime distribution, it was now a working business.
Yep.
But I had taken so much debt and so much loss, and to be forward, so much bad feelings about failure and loss and mistake that I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. So
I literally sold off a successful business just basically to pay off debt.
Yeah.
Just to get back to zero.
Yeah.
Because they won't do it anymore. And I know some people think that's crazy. If you're an entrepreneur, at one point, if you don't want to get up in the morning and do the work, you should sell the business.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Because what's the saying, right? Is that I'm never working a day in my life if I'm doing something that I love.
Bingo.
Well, the opposite of that is probably waking up every day and doing something that you hate and you can't get rid of it.
Yes. So this is a great story. I do not recommend what I'm going to tell you at all, but it worked.
I'll put a disclaimer in the show notes. Right?
Yes. I'm not recommending this. What I'm saying is I sold it on a handshake.
Okay.
And took 6 monthly payments because the guy didn't have the cash I wanted. So he had to pay me 1/6 up front and then a 1/6 for 6 months. And I did it on a handshake. And the guy said yes and actually paid me everything.
You know, there's a lot of countries though, right? That's how they build those relationships.
Yes.
They're places like Brazil and places like that where they're like, whoa. I'm not signing a contract. What is this? Do you not trust me? Do we not have that relationship?
Yes. So again, I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying that's how desperate I was to get rid of it.
Right.
And then I had another job for a while. And then I started the business I have now, which is NeoSage Group. If anybody cares, it's theneosage.com if you care, or neo-sage.com. Please check it out if you like. And that's what I do now is my day job. And of course, that's how I got involved in entrepreneurship.
No, that's great. And you bring up an interesting point. I wasn't originally planning on going this way, but you bring up a very interesting point when you were talking about starting the business with your mom, you know, because she could drive, right? Or, you know, you guys could start a driving business. One of the things that's really come up popular, especially in your home city of New York City, I know it recently passed in Seattle and they're looking at doing nationally, is the additional restrictions on gig workers
Yep.
For Uber and Lyft, and, you know, classifying those guys as full-time employees rather
Terrible
than,
idea.
and so part of that is, and I'll let you go into a little bit more, but part of my thought there is that a lot of these guys, they have a car, and that's about the only thing that they have. And so can you kind of explain how this is probably going to work out for unfortunately a lot of these folks if that legislation does come down?
It's going to mean everyone who wants to do their own work is going to be fined like there's no tomorrow. This is actually nothing but a money grab. That's all this is from the States. It's a money grab. It's going to crush the individual.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is we're always thinking that licensing and, you know, things like that, credentialing, that they're all, you know, for safety. They're not. Right. They're for control and money grabs. That's what it's about. When I was a kid in the South Bronx, you know, I grew up in the 70s. So when I was a kid in the South Bronx, cabs wouldn't come to our neighborhood. Right. They didn't come to our neighborhood. Yeah. So we had gypsy cabs. We didn't have Uber back then.
Sure.
So one guy would like paint one of his doors. That's how you know, right? It'd be a blue car, but he'd paint one door red.
Right.
So, okay, that's gypsy cab. We would know. Right. So we go in that guy, we give him whatever the money is, we'd agree, take me across town, whatever. And that's how we dealt with it, because we didn't have cabs wouldn't come to our place, and not everybody could afford a car. Sure. Right. So that's what we would do. So now you bring in the medallion process, which in New York City is a way that, you know, only authorized people can be taxi cab owners. What a terrible idea. Yeah. That idea made sure what that does right now is punish immigrant families, because immigrants don't know how things work here. So they come in, go through the government, and the government says, buy a medallion. Medallions are literally $1 million. So they mortgage. It's a mortgage to have a medallion, right? It's a government scheme to punish poor families. I'm sorry, immigrant families. Poor families don't do it. Poor families go Uber, whatever, something, because they know better. Immigrants don't know better. Now they're starting to know better. And what we're having in New York City is a mass amount of medallion owners committing suicide. Right. Yeah. Because that's the way out, right? They commit suicide, have to pay, and life insurance pays their family. Yeah. So they just want to support their family. They can't do this. Sure. So they end themselves, and that's the way out. I remember reading a story about one of the drivers, and it was an unfortunate situation. He took out loans using his medallion as collateral to put his kids through school. And so he owed $300,000 or $400,000 on something that was essentially at that point worth $100,000 or whatever, you know, whatever it might be. Or these guys are driving 18, 19 hours a day. Yes. Because they have all this debt, to your point, that they have to try to pay off. They actually, generally speaking, most yellow cabs in New York City run about 22 hours a day. Oh, 2 shifts, 11 hours each. Oh, and then 1 hour to transition for each one. Yeah. That's how the cabs work. I'm not joking. Man, it's 22 hours a day is most. And this is because of licensing, right? Yeah. Or you just let people use their own property to do the right thing. Yeah. That will be a whole lot easier. Yeah. But the problem is they're trying to get more people to become employees. Right. And if you do that, why? Because you get the payroll taxes. Yep. Payroll taxes. Exactly. It's taxes, right? And if you make an error, you can get sued, and now you get fined. It's a money grab. The problem is, if you're a small business owner like me or anyone else, you can't afford employees. Right. You just can't. Yeah. And you might go, well, too bad, you're a bad business owner. Right. Okay, maybe you're correct. Maybe I'm a bad business owner. Maybe, right? But how about the person now in today's world where you have to keep learning your entire life? Yeah. And the odds are you're going to have a minimum of 3 different careers. The odds are 5 different careers, not jobs, careers across your life. So how am I going to learn how to do this next thing? Yeah. I can't afford to pay you. Right. So you do it as a gig employee and you learn, and you probably suck at it. Yeah. So I don't pay much because you suck at it, but I get something out of you because I can't afford to get the heavy hitters. Sure. So I take mediocre, you start learning, win-win. Yeah. Everybody's happy in that regard. Or maybe I need someone who's really a heavy hitter. Yeah. For my job, whatever it is. Right. But I can't afford her $200,000 a year salary. Yep. But can I afford to get her for a couple hours a week? Sure. That I can afford. Yeah. So now we all share her expertise or her awesomeness that she is. Now 8 people can share it, each paying a couple bucks a week. Yeah. That's going to go away. Yeah. You're going to devastate small business. You're going to crush the consultant class, and which is the strongest class we have, because the consultants are the ones who are able to transition. You've seen this. As soon as someone who's 40 or over gets fired or laid off, and their name is John Smith, the next thing you see on the LinkedIn profile is JS Consulting.
Right.
That's the first thing you see.
Sure.
They become a gig worker to figure out what their next step is.
Yeah.
That's the way it works in America. The problem is our government doesn't understand that, never can understand that, doesn't get it. They are living in an industrialized world where we are in a post-industrialized world.
Right.
They don't get it. They still think everyone gets, goes to college for 4 years and then gets a job in a company and stays there for 40 years. Almost no one does that anymore.
Sure.
The odds of someone doing that now are slim to none. We have our unionized workforce is something like 7% of the workforce.
Yep.
It's something like that.
Or well, private, right? Because public is still
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. But that's the other problem. Now everyone's falling back to government.
Yep.
About 1 in 7 Americans now works for the government.
Yeah.
It goes to about 1 in 6 if you count all the people who are working for government contracts, contractors, even though they're private. It's like 1 in 6.
Yeah, and
this is becoming socialist numbers.
And I think it was the small number of increases in employment in the January numbers was actually all driven by government. It wasn't. It wasn't.
There were, if I remember the right numbers, it was almost 50,000
I think
jobs.
It was 39,000.
There we go, and only like 6,000 were private sector.
Exactly. Right. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about, and so
hold on 1 second. I'm not against government jobs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying they shouldn't be 20% of our economy.
Yeah.
Right? They're too much of our economy. That's all I'm saying.
No, that makes sense. Now, as an ANCAP, I may disagree with you some there, but I completely get the point. I can understand.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you brought up that was very interesting when you were talking about the gypsy cabs. One of the things that really drew me to your message and made me a big fan was when you were on Joe Rogan's show, when you were running for governor. And one of the beauties of the show is the long form, right? I mean, it's 3 hours long, and you really have the ability to talk about a platform and go into very strong and minute details. The things that I really loved was the proposal for the school system, where you had talked about, kind of 1st through 10th grade, provide some flexibility. But the other one that I really loved was the licensing. I know you mentioned the gypsy cab, and I can't remember exactly how you referred to it, but it was along the lines of, if you would trust your friend to do it, you shouldn't require a license for that.
Yes, and that's my point, right? I want to shift most licensing into credentialing. And let me explain the difference between the two. Licensing means you may not do it if the government says so.
Mm-hmm.
Credentialing means you have an official stamp from the government saying you are okayed by government, but you may do it if you want to.
Right.
But the public now decides, do they trust you without a government stamp or not?
Right.
It allows the consumer to decide if they trust you or not.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's different. And then if the government stamp is a valuable stamp, meaning the consumers believe it and care, right, then people will have to get the government stamp, or no one will use their facilities, right? Or use their services.
Yeah.
But if your stamp isn't valuable, then no one will use it, which means one of two things: your stamp is garbage, or get a better stamp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So the government gets better, or it goes away. And that's everything I talk about. Every policy I have is government either gets better or goes away.
Right.
Both are fine. But when it goes away, there's always a community answer there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Because people do need services. People do need help.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, government is always two things: a monopoly and a jobs program.
Right.
And if we accept that as true, the goal is create something that fights against the monopoly, more choices, which can also absorb jobs too. Yeah. And then the government, because of competition, either gets better and or goes away. Either way, either answer is fine, as long as the community gets better services.
Sure.
That's all I'm looking for in the long run.
Yeah.
So the idea of credentialing is, you should look at it. Would you ask your friend to do it?
Yeah.
Would you ask your friend to walk your dog? Yeah. Why is there a license?
Right.
Right. Why is there a license? Would you ask your would you ask your friend to braid your hair if I had hair to braid? You and I are in the same boat there. We're not going to be braiding our hair anytime soon. So I mean,
maybe I'll grow a ponytail or something.
There we go. You grow a ponytail or braid it, but would you ask your friend to braid your ponytail? You would. Why is there a license? In New York State, there's a license for both of those. Now, would you ask your friend to remove your gallbladder? I hope not get a license for that.
Yeah, and I think too, and I think this is a big point of discussion with the current school choice debates that are going on. A lot of states are introducing school choice because of lockdowns and things along those lines. One of the points there is that you bring up monopolies, which a lot of people will reference it to K through 12 education. But I think another one of the points too is that when you look at the lack of school choice, that those tend to hurt a lot of poor communities, working class communities, minority communities. And I think when you're bringing up these licensing issues, it's the same thing, right? The same audience. Like when I started my business in Tennessee, it was like a $300 registration fee. Well, guess what? There are probably a lot of people who would have liked to have started a business, but the requirement to register in the state of Tennessee was $300. And that could be bills, that they have to pay. And I'm sure in New York, it's a lot worse.
Oh, it's terrible. That they just once someone starts a business, they go, great, now the punishment begins.
Yeah.
So that's it. Good. Yes.
Right.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. We go out of our way to punish you.
Exactly. And now, so one of the other things too that I thought was very interesting. So when I was listening to you on Joe's show, this was right around the time that you were running for governor. I know you probably spoke to half of the people that live in that state, while you were doing your tours. When you're talking about these things, I would think that most people that are outside of our circles would look at some of these and say, wow, these are very radical ideas. When you spoke to people kind of on a small and more intimate level, can you tell us a little bit about somebody who might have been pretty reserved, and then as you spoke to them more, you were able to kind of win them over? Because to us, it seems like a very sensible idea, but I'm sure that there are a lot of people
libertarians hate my ideas.
Well,
most libertarians hate my ideas. Most libertarians go, you don't go far enough, constantly. They give me so much. The problem, let me touch both of those sides if I could. The libertarian world, the non-libertarian world.
Yeah, go for it.
The libertarian world, most libertarians that I know, the hardcore ones particularly, they hate my ideas. They're like, why would you give the government any power?
Right.
And why I don't talk to them usually.
Sure.
Because it doesn't matter what I say, right? They're just not going to hear me. And I get it. But the reality of it is those libertarians don't live in my state.
Right.
They don't know that my state loves government.
Yeah.
Loves. We have the worst governor in the state who takes over everything all the time and writes a book about it.
Right.
And his favorability ratings are still over 50%.
Yeah, it was 51%.
Correct. That is the state I live in. So for you to go get government out of it, you're living in another planet. You don't know what state I live in. So I can't have a conversation with you on that regard because you don't know where I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
I live in New York City with de Blasio, the worst mayor in the entire country. And he's still popular.
Yeah. I mean, now he's making people dance in the streets, right?
Absolutely. So that's the world I live in.
That's his culture. He's bringing culture to the city.
But you libertarians that get mad at me for doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When New Yorkers hear mine, they think I'm an anarchist. Like that's where their head is.
Right.
What?
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're going to be living in Mad Max in 6 months.
Yes, they think I'm crazy. So that's where I am. But my goal to be forward, and makes some people upset when I say, but my goal isn't to make us free because I don't think I personally can do that.
Yeah.
I think we are right now facing, directly in the way of oligarchy and eventual dictatorship. We are walking down that road right now.
Right.
I just want to turn us around and have us face freedom.
Yeah.
If I do that, I've done my bit. Now you guys can push us down the road. Right?
Sure.
Fine. You push us down the road.
Sure.
Let me just turn us to be facing it.
Right.
And not be afraid. Just,
I think,
we're looking that way?
Yeah.
Yes, this is the way.
Right.
Then everyone else can push. So that's the side I look at on both sides.
And I think the saying, right, is don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yes.
And again, too, that's what I mean. So me personally, as an ANCAP, I would agree with all of that, but I also understand the perspective that you're coming from.
Yes.
Because when I have friends of mine and I talk about, completely legalizing and decriminalizing all drugs, and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. And then to my point, whenever I was thinking, when you're running for governor, when you can explain the messaging on a smaller, more intimate scale, it's easier to win people over
Yes.
than a soundbite, right? You know,
Absolutely.
A governor candidate wants to legalize heroin, you know,
but if you notice what I said, I had a little thing. Mine was regulate like onions.
Okay.
That was my saying. Regulate cannabis like onions.
See, I missed
It's a
that
plant.
one.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
my entire cannabis plan. My drug plan was regulate cannabis
Regulate
like onions. You can, and I said I came with that because in Western New York, if you're not in New York, you don't know this, but in Western New York, we grow onions.
Okay.
That's part of what farmers grow in Western New York. They grow onions.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, you know what? Let's make it like onions.
Easily to relate. Yeah.
Yes, and they were like, oh yeah. Right. And people are like, oh, because I use the word regulate, which makes the people go, okay,
yeah,
we're regulating and we like that.
Right.
So it makes them feel okay. Yeah. But onions relatively have very little regulation.
Yeah. And
farmers can just grow onions and you can just buy onions.
And then easily relatable.
So regulate like onions. That was my soundbite, right? And libertarians, why is the government regulating anything? And I'm like, stop! I live in New York State. We still don't have recreational cannabis.
Yeah.
People in New York State still go to jail for weed. And you're asking me to get rid of heroin, get heroin legal? What state do you think I live in?
Right.
We still don't. We may not make cannabis legal this year.
Right.
It still might fail this year. Because my governor will only regulate cannabis if and only if his cronies can get all the cash and he can tax the hell out of it to ensure there's still a black market.
Right.
So he can still put people in jail.
Like Newsom in California.
Correct.
Yeah.
He has to make sure that people can still go to jail in the black market. That's important for him.
Right.
And also his cronies can get most of the money and he can tax it like there's no tomorrow so that nobody actually wants it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal.
Yep.
He hasn't found that balance yet, so we don't get it. So the idea of even imagining, well, what about heroin? I don't know what state you live in, man. It's not mine.
Right.
It's not my state.
Yeah. We're talking past each other at that point.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So that actually probably answers the next thing I was thinking. So when I was reading some stuff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't answer your question. I apologize. I'm yapping.
No, it's okay.
Let me quickly,
we'll move on.
Before you go there, let me quickly just answer that question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
There were only 7,000 registered libertarians in New York State when I ran. I got over 100,000 votes.
Yeah.
So I converted a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And now there are over 21,000.
That's great.
So I've converted even more. So yes, as I went around, I am converting people to the party. And you know this, not everyone who's libertarian is a registered libertarian.
Yes.
So whatever number registered, that represents more, whatever that number is, right?
Right.
So yes, I'm turning people all the time. And the way I turn them individually is by not talking about libertarianism. What I talk about is libertarian solutions to their problems.
Sure.
The average New Yorker for sure, and I think the average American, but I know my state very well, but I'm assuming most states are similar, and that the average person doesn't care actually about liberty or libertarianism. What they care about is, do you have a solution to my problem?
Yep.
If you have it, I'll hear you. And if you have none, I will then go to culture war.
Yep.
Right? If I feel there's no solution, I go to culture war.
Yeah.
Are you like me or not?
Yeah.
If you have solutions, I'll actually avoid the culture war.
Yeah.
If you can give me an actual solution. The problem is we haven't solved anything in 50 years.
Right.
So most people don't think there is a solution for anything.
Right.
Which is why we keep creating wedge issues that never get solved.
Yeah. I think that was what, so I believe Joe Biden's platform in running in the last election was essentially the same platform he ran on, what was it, 30 years ago or something, something along those lines.
Joe Biden's platform was, I'm not Trump.
Right.
That was his platform.
Yeah. That's exactly
and it was accurate. He isn't Trump. That's true.
Right.
It's accurate. He wasn't lying on that one.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And one of the, it's funny that you say that too, is because one of the first elections that I participated in was the second George W. Bush one. And so people are like, oh, well, who are you going to vote for? And I was like, well, this John Kerry guy, I don't really know anything about him other than he's just saying that he's not George Bush. Like, I mean, I don't know how you could vote for somebody in a scenario like that. But so,
and look at that, 10 years later, you people did.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So that actually brings me up to my next question, because one of the things that I was reading about when I was looking at some of your information, now I'm Ron Paul is the guy who turned me on kind of to liberty, which I think a lot of people that came into it around that time, you know, were driven by him. But one of the things I noticed on yours is that you had stated that it was something that you had heard from Gary Johnson in 2012. Which is relatively unique to me. I hadn't heard that before.
It is. I'm Dave Smith teases me all the time. Dave Smith says, he goes, I've always said Gary Johnson didn't bring anybody to the party. And then I met you. You're the one guy. You're the one guy Gary Johnson brought to the party. Dave Smith always says it to me. Yes.
So what was it? Because that was in 2012, right? And so that would have been the second time that Ron Paul would have been running for president. And I would have attributed most people in the liberty movement to him around that time. So what was it about Gary that he did in 2012 that pushed you over the edge?
My head was not in politics at all. I didn't come to the liberty movement because of politics. And most people think I did, but I didn't. The same reason why I didn't come to entrepreneurship the normal ways either. I came in all weird ways. I came into the libertarian movement actually through a guy named Robert Ringer. Robert Ringer, I don't know if you happen to know him. He's a business guru. He wrote, you know, Looking Out for Number One, To Be or Not to Be Intimidated. I mean, he's a big Ayn Rander. He's an objectivist.
Gotcha.
But he's a business guru who I respected. I read his books. I used to read his blog, all that stuff. He said that I should read Atlas Shrugged.
Okay.
So I said, okay, guru, I'm going to read Atlas Shrugged. Right. So I did. And that kind of got me thinking about the libertarian style. But I've never considered myself an objectivist. But that gave me the kind of thought process. Maybe government's not the answer for everything.
Right.
Right. Maybe it isn't the answer for everything. Okay. That's what got my mind. Because remember where I came from. I came from traditional Democrat, you know, family as a kid.
Right.
And then when I joined the Marine Corps, I joined the Marine Corps at 17. And I joined the Marine Corps in the 80s. Most of my leadership was conservative. Marine Corps is a very conservative branch, for those who don't know.
Sure.
Almost all my leaders were conservative. And my first commander-in-chief was Ronald Reagan. So I kind of became much more conservative or Republican as a youngster.
Sure.
Until Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, when he first came on and did the saxophone on the cool TV shows, he was on Arsenio Hall doing that. I was like, wow, this guy's cool. He's different. He'll save us.
Yeah.
Right? He'll save us.
I trust the guy who plays the saxophone.
The guy plays the saxophone. How can he not be great president? And I wish I wasn't so naive to believe that, but I'll tell you honestly, I believe that. I do.
Yeah. Well, future candidates, if you want to win Larry's vote, just play a saxophone.
Play the saxophone. You got me. So I voted for Bill Clinton in 92. I went from Republican, and all of a sudden I voted for Bill Clinton. And I was so disappointed in him. I felt a bit betrayed.
Sure. Because
he was not the president that I wanted him to be, that he claimed to be. He wasn't that guy.
Right.
So then I became very disenchanted because I wasn't a fan of the first Bush. I liked Reagan. I didn't like the first Bush very much. And I was betrayed by Clinton. So I became the other guy. I became Perot is going to save us, right? And Nader. Sure. And I was just those guys because I couldn't have told you what a Perot or Nader policy was. Right. I didn't know. I didn't really care. Yeah. I wasn't political. I was doing stuff in my life. Yeah. I wasn't worried about the political world. So I was like, they're the outsider, therefore they're good.
Sure.
That's exactly how my mind went. So
I voted mentality. Yeah.
I voted third party in 96, in 2000 and 2004. I would have had Nader in 2004. I know I sound like but I'm just telling you the truth. I did.
That's okay. I can edit that part out if you want.
It's fine. Look, I don't mind. You can see my hero's journey and the failures that I made. I'm not ashamed of my failures. I wear them as a badge of honor.
Sure.
Right? I wear my scars with pride. Right. So then in 2008, I fell for the Obama rhetoric. I thought, my God, this guy's different, right? They can't fool me again.
Right. I mean, and he's not even playing a saxophone.
He's just cool and smooth and guy who plays basketball.
Yeah, he made that swish three-pointer.
I watched it. Right? I was so fooled by like glittery stuff. So totally worked on me. I was like, he's going to change everything. And I was even more betrayed by him.
Yeah, had those high expectations.
I did. I was betrayed by Clinton to where I thought I'm just going to vote third party. Right. I was betrayed by Obama to where I wasn't going to vote again. That's how bad I felt about it. I'm like, God, I can't trust any of these guys.
Yeah.
Like none of them. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter who they are. They all just suck.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hate them all.
Right.
And I wasn't prepared to hear Ron Paul.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, he was one of them.
Right.
I couldn't hear him.
Yeah.
But now, by the way, I love Ron Paul. I mean, I've opened for him more than once in events. You know, I've introduced him a couple times. We see each other on Libertarian Places.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a fan. I couldn't hear him then.
Sure.
But in 2012, after now, I've already had my business open for 8 years. I've gone through the crash and been devastated by the crash, had to rebuild and reboot myself. And now I'm realizing how government was the one who screwed me over again. And I was hating it. And as an entrepreneur, suffering. Then I heard Gary Johnson talk about his construction business. That's what pulled me in.
Interesting.
He wasn't talking about politics.
Yeah, he was talking business.
He was about construction. And I'm like, oh, who's this guy? Construction business guy? Started his own business. What? And then I was open. My ears opened up and I heard him. I said, oh, who's this guy? A librarian? Oh, libertarian. Oh, this is a librarian. Okay, what? And I was kind of like that.
Well, he reads a lot, I guess.
He must read a lot, I guess. It's okay. So, but
that means he's smart.
That's what drew me into the whole thing, is hearing him talk about business. And then this, you know, it's funny. I used to think when I first heard Gary Johnson, and this is why I think I am the way I am now. I used to think he was a radical.
Okay.
I am far more radical than he is now.
Yeah.
Far more radical than he is. But when I first heard him, I'm like, who is this guy?
Right.
This is like radical guy.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Am I legally allowed to vote for him?
Yes, because that's where my head was, right? My head was just in a different place.
Yeah.
So then I actually joined the party.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I've never been part of a party in my life.
Yeah, and you jumped in. I mean,
I did.
Like,
I jumped right in. When I found, like, I'm in, this is it. I'm in. I joined the party. I started, and I did what I thought was the right answer. I started writing checks. So I started supporting candidates, writing parties. I joined at the state level. I joined at the national level. I wrote money for the building that we bought in outside of DC. I wrote a check for that. I'm a lifetime member.
That's
so
awesome.
I started doing that stuff. I just thought I didn't have to do. I'll give you money. You need that. I'll give you money. So
right,
take money. So that's what I did. So then now 2014 comes and we're running a gubernatorial candidate in New York. So I said, all right, I did put my money where my mouth is. I donated to him. And I literally drove him around the state and did debate prep for him. I took 3 days off of my business, took him to Buffalo, helped him for debate prep, did that, supported him. We got our butt kicked in that election. I felt bad. Then Gary Johnson running again in 2016.
Yeah.
Well, then I figure out how this whole VP thing works.
Right.
So I could be
You were this close. You were that close.
I said, I'm doing it. So I did about a 4 or 5 week, 6 week campaign. Spent my own cash doing it, did a short campaign, trying to do it, and I lost by 31 votes. Not that I'm counting 31 votes. All right? Stop, Danny, counting it. Stop. You're counting, Danny, not me.
Right.
Anyway, 31 votes. Who cares? Who's counting?
Anyway, who's counting? Not like you remember. You just you knew it was about 31.
It's around exactly 31 votes that I lost by. But anyway, so I lost that by 31 votes, and it became a Johnson Weld ticket instead. One of the reasons why I wanted to run is I knew that at the end of the campaign season, they were going to go away. Yeah. Because they always go away. Right. And I was like, I didn't want this to be our norm. What I saw was our norm. People run, they lose, they go away. We reboot from scratch every single time. Yeah. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. I said, I'm not going to be that guy. So that's why I wanted to be the VP, so I could keep going. Sure. And keep it going. Sure. Well, it didn't work. So I said, you know what? I am going to run for governor of New York State. One of the reasons why is I was going to move out of New York State. Yeah, I've been trying to get you. I've been trying to get you out of there. I was going to go down to North Carolina, Charlotte, because from what I do or did before my governor deemed me non-essential, what I used to do is I would spend most of my time training and consulting and teaching. Okay, so I need a big city for that, right? Yeah. I can't do that in a small town. There's not enough dollars to sustain me, right? So I thought Charlotte, that's a big city. Yeah. I went down look around Charlotte and I was like, my God, I can sell my home here in Queens, buy a mansion in Charlotte. Or 100 acres, whatever. Yes. You want. My lot here in Queens is 20 by 100 feet. Oh my God. Feet. Not meters, not yards, not acres. Right. Feet. 20 by 100 feet. And go in my backyard, which is like a postage stamp. You have a yard? Yeah, in the back. You have to go through my house because our houses touch. So there's no way to get to my backyard without going through my house.
Oh man. And here
That's
I
what I
complain
live in
about
now.
having to mow my grass.
I don't have any grass. Literally, I don't have any grass.
Well, can you have enough space for a grill at least?
Yes, we do have that.
All right,
Yes,
all right,
yes.
all right.
We don't have any grass.
Not
but
a
yes.
grill and a smoker though, because there wouldn't be enough room for that.
And the cops, it's probably against New York State law, so I'd probably get arrested anyway.
That's a very good point. That's a very
yeah,
good
so
point.
probably not. But anyway, my point being, I then decided I'm going to run for governor. I ran for governor. I got the most votes anyone's ever gotten. I raised over $500,000.
Yeah.
Campaign. I raised the most. I made a national team.
Yep.
And I didn't go away.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing I'm trying to show people.
And I think the biggest success too is that you also got automatic bid access for the first time, or ballot access. Sorry, yeah, for the first time ever for the party as well. So yep. I mean, even that is a huge success.
Absolutely. So it was a good run. And after I did it, the governor decided to change the rules, so we may not have ballot access anymore. They changed the rules literally in the middle of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm they're used to it as far as debate rules and and ballot access rules and stuff. So it's not something that that we're not used to.
So the reason why I ran for the VP slot for a short time, I didn't really run for the VP. I just jumped on the ticket of Judge Jim Gray. Yeah, and I jumped on his ticket because he was the only one who believed in an actual policy and plan that could work. Sadly, Libertarians do the same thing every single time. It never works. We keep doing it. Yeah. We do a 50 state, campaign. Yeah. It's dumb. It doesn't work. It can never work. And we keep doing it. Right. I tried to get him to do it in 2016. Gary Johnson was the governor of New Mexico. Yeah. So I said, let's focus in New Mexico. Yeah. Let's win New Mexico. Sure. Let's just get some ballot. Let's just get electoral votes. Yeah. Let's have a gold state on the map. Yep. They were like, bye, Larry, get out of here. So that was it. They don't want to hear me. Fine. Right. So then 2020, I told them the same thing. We have to do a plan that focuses on 4 or 5 small states first. Yeah. Once we poll well in those states, it will then become national news. We'll then grow it. Right. That's what I did in New York State. That's how I got what I got. I focused on smaller areas. I became popular in smaller areas. There was one district, in New York State, where I got 26% of the vote. It's awesome. Yes. And that's how I grew to be popular across the state. That would work. Judge Jim Gray was the only person who believed in that style. Everyone else said I was crazy. Yeah. So it was him or I wasn't running. And when he lost, I didn't even get in the vote. I just dropped out. Yeah. Because I was going to waste my time. Right. On another plan that wasn't going to work. And it didn't work because it can't work. It will never work. I think too, I remember on some of the libertarian subgroups and stuff, they had also talked about, I think it was Maine, who divides their electoral votes and Nebraska. Well. Yeah, there you go. And so those, they were also like, too, it makes sense to focus efforts here because we can still get split. We could still get split votes here. And all I want to do is have a gold state on that map, because a gold state on that map, people talk about, should we run for president or not, blah, blah. The 50 state way, no, it's throwing money away. But my way, yes. Yeah. Because one of two things happens. The insane lottery one is no one can get 270. Yeah. We have a couple electoral votes. We have a shot at getting the presidency. That's the lottery. Right. But forget the lottery. Just what will probably happen if we get just one state. I've just validated every down ticket candidate for the next 4 years. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I want. I've validated every single down ballot candidate for the next 4 years because every time CNN or Fox shows that map, and they show it a bazillion times, there'll be a gold state. And people will say, what's that? Oh, that's Libertarians. Yeah. Hey, isn't Jane running as Libertarian down for the city council? Yeah. Oh, she is. Oh, they're real, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Well, that's what I want to happen. And that's a major complaint typically, right? Too, is that they'll go, well, why do you guys run for the presidency? You should focus local first, and build up from the ground up. And so essentially what you're doing is you're like, hey, let's do that. I have a plan to be able to do that. Yes. And I did it in New York State. I ran in 2018 and lost. Then I covered the state again in 2019, supporting local candidates with the fame, call it that I got from 2018. Yeah. And we got 103 victories.
That's awesome.
We had 0 libertarians in my state in 2017, 103 in 2019.
There you
That's
go.
what I practice what I preach.
Right.
I know what I'm doing. I've done it.
They should tap you more.
They don't care. Yeah, whatever. I know better because I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm more liberty than the other guy or something, whatever they say.
So this is actually a great segue into my last question. And this is something that I've been a huge fan of yours ever since the first time I saw you. And it is your relentless positivity and friendliness. And you come off as the most approachable, positive person. I know I bring it up to you on Twitter, you know, that it's just something, it's so admirable because you're like, well, if Larry can be positive all the time, I can be positive 90% of the time.
I'll take 60.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or 60. So,
I'll take 60.
Has that always been part of who you are? Or did you have a something that kind of happened or someone teach you, and say, hey, you know what, it's way more beneficial to be positive and always look for the silver lining. Like how did that come about? Cause it's just a quality that you just see so rarely.
I'm unsure, but I am an optimist. I mean, I am an optimist. That's who I am. I'm not sure why that's true. Some scientists say that your mother is a critical aspect on whether you are versus father. That statistically, if your mother's a pessimist, you tend to be a pessimist statistically. If your mother's an optimist, you tend to be an optimist, regardless of who your father is. That's the kind of funny thing.
That's interesting.
It's statistically. It's not, obviously people are different.
Yeah. Well, my mom is the optimist. And so that, you know, that would probably ring true in my case too.
So by statistics, that's tends to be true. My mom always said that I'm going to do great. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be good. She always said that, right? So I think maybe that might have helped. I don't know. But the reality of it is, you know, mission matters, right? And the Marine Corps taught me that, right? You take the hill. The captain got shot. I know, take the hill. The machine gun's broken. Got it. Take the hill.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have 13 men. We got 7. Great. Take the hill.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so take the hill, right? Whatever, let's go take it. That's what we're going to do. We got a hill to take. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the way I think often. In a war like this is in a war of attrition.
Yeah.
That's what we're fighting now, a war of attrition.
Yep.
And we have to be able to, every time the whistle blows, come out of the trench. And that's not always easy to do.
Yeah.
People don't want to fight this war anymore.
Right.
I know. They lose all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep fighting when you get defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat. It's hard. And so what do? We eat our own.
Mm-hmm.
When Libertarian Party losing elections and winning arguments for 50 years.
Yeah.
I'd rather win the elections. So I'm about changing hearts and minds. That's what I want to do. I understand that politics is not logical. It's emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So I focus always on the emotion. By the way, so is business.
Yeah.
It's emotional, not logical.
Yeah.
The guy who thinks he has every logical answer without any emotional answers is going to fail.
Right.
You've got to have both.
Yeah. I mean, I work in finance. I look at numbers all day and I think, how do I turn this logical answer into an emotional,
yes. Absolutely. You have to, right? You've got to have both. Mm-hmm. And too many libertarians focus on only logical. And I focus, not that I don't have logical, obviously I have policies,
right? But
I always focus on emotional first and then the logical aspects, not logical first. I would rather lose every argument, but win every heart.
Yeah.
I can lose every battle, but win the war. So I want to win the war. And it is my true opinion in my heart. And I have 2 daughters that I care about, and they're growing up in this, that the only way we're going to avoid catastrophe in this country is a third party. Yeah. Is a party or a movement, not even a party, a movement that allows you to be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be without forcing its views upon you.
Sure.
If we have that, we'll be okay. We can survive, right? Yeah. I see it in my own state. My state's very diverse. We have people who are super conservative and super liberal all in the same state. We have one county that has 4,500 people in it. Another one that has 2.3 million.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of diversity that we have in our state. I don't want everyone to think like everybody else. I want them to be relatively apathetic. Mm-hmm. If we could just move towards apathy. I think, I had a guy on my show last week who said, Brooklyn is a blood type. right? Because he loves Brooklyn.
Yeah.
People in Brooklyn love Brooklyn. That's why they live in Brooklyn.
Right.
So why would I want somebody in Western Wyoming County to decide what happens in Brooklyn?
Absolutely.
They shouldn't. And people in Brooklyn shouldn't decide what happens in rural Wyoming County. They should let it go.
Right.
You live in Wyoming
County. They don't think Brooklyn is a blood type.
Thank you. They think Wyoming is a blood type or whatever. It's fine. And that's a good thing. Our problem is we're trying to push our views on others, or worse, I'll go left, right, and libertarian.
Yeah.
The left is trying to enforce its will upon the right on the left. That's why they're both scared.
Yeah.
But libertarians, we tell ourselves a lie too. We say it's all about freedom. Everybody wants freedom.
Right.
No, that's not true.
You're right.
That's a lie we've been telling ourselves for years.
Yeah.
Right? Lots of people don't want to be free.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Just don't force me.
Right.
Right? If you, and remember, the Amish can survive in a libertarian society, not in a socialist society.
Yeah.
Socialists can live in a libertarian society. Libertarians can't live in a socialist society.
Right. Right. That's a big argument that I tend to make to people, because, you know, they're like, oh, well, you're afraid of socialism and afraid of doing this and this and this. And it's like, you can operate however you want, how we are right now. But if I was to operate in your world, I'd be in jail.
Yes.
You know,
that's exactly right.
Like,
yes.
Like, you know, we talk about give and take here, but you're not really giving me a whole lot other than the gulags, you know?
Yes. Well, and libertarians are getting so angry about that, right? The exercise I'll do often in libertarian world, I'll say, say I'm at an event, I'll say, how many people here are against universal health care? All the hands come up.
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, you're not. You're against the mandate.
Right. Right.
And they go, oh, yeah. You're not against universal health care.
Sure.
And when you fall into that trap, you've just told everyone out there, I want old people to die.
Right.
That's what they just heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
When people say, are you against universal health care? I go, no, not at all.
Yeah.
If we could have if we made sure that we didn't have a mandate and that people had an option of opting out and going someplace else, yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah. That's actually great. I would be in that camp. And so I think you're right, where the smart way to do it would be to reverse it. Because as I'm sure you're typically used to is that people will generally have a lot of got you moments, right?
All the time.
You know, they'll make up a hypothetical, and then you'll say, you know, either I don't know or whatever it might be. And they're like, see, I got you. You don't have an answer for everything. And I'm like, well, that's kind of the point here. Like, I don't need to have an answer for everything, because I think you can operate for yourself, you know?
Yeah. But what you'll also often hear me say also is when they throw that up there and I go, are you judging my idea against perfection or status quo?
Yeah, that's a good
point. And they go, well, against perfection, how's your idea going?
Right.
If we're doing perfection, okay, how's your idea right now? Well, things suck. Yeah. They kind of do. You're right. It's true. Yeah. Well, then status quo. Okay, compare mine to status quo. Yeah. And then they go, oh, yeah, not so bad. Yeah, not so bad.
I just need you to look in that direction over here. Just
yes,
that way.
Exactly. Just look towards freedom is all I'm asking. Just it's not that scary. Just look at it.
That's perfect. No, that's great. Well, Larry, I mean, I loved having you on the show. With the last couple of minutes, is there anything you want to plug? Anything along those lines?
Not just plug. I want people to take the time right now who are listening to realize that this is a transition time and a lot of people are struggling.
Yeah.
Maybe someone listening is struggling, and maybe your friend or family member is struggling. So there are two things I want you to consider. One is the emotional side. Reach out to friends and family more. Don't tell them what to do. Don't give them advice. Don't try to control them. Just let them know you're still there. And when they whine and cry, just go, I hear you, man. I hear you, sister. I'm with you. That's it. Just do that. That's on an emotional side, not a logical side. It's time for you to start thinking, is this right, whatever you're doing now?
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to start rethinking things. Just recently, New Year, COVID, this is time to start rethinking things. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you should change anything. What I'm saying is now is time to start thinking, should I change anything? Is this a time to make that change? You can get labor relatively cheap right now. People are open. And here's the best part. If you fail now, no one gets mad at you. Everybody's failing.
Yeah, that's a great point.
If you fail during the good time, they go, wow, you're an idiot. You failed during that time? Everybody was winning.
Yeah, everybody was making money. What happened to
How could you not make money during that? Wow, you're dumb. But you fail now? Everybody's failing out. There's
Right.
100,000 businesses
Right.
in New York State that are failing.
Yeah. If anything, people are like, "Hey, man, you gave it your best shot," you know, that kind of thing,
Bingo.
and they become more supportive, kind of thing. Yeah, that's a great point.
100%. And if you can survive this, imagine what you'll do when it is good.
Yeah.
So now is your time. If you care about me, just Google Larry Sharpe. Head over to the Sharpe Way. I'm on all the internet things: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
Yeah.
Twitter, all those things. I hope to see you on the Sharpe Way.
Yeah.
And or LarrySharpe.com.
And now also too, if you do listen to the Sharpe Way, the best way to communicate directly to you, as I learned, is either through YouTube or Facebook Live, right? Those are the
if you want to actually, yes, if you want to have a chat with me, if you want to reach out to me, reach out either my Facebook page or my Twitter. Those two are always monitored by my team, so it will get to me.
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. Well, Larry, it was a pleasure, man. I loved it, and we'll have to stay in touch.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you, sir.